the Punch TV. So say first time I the channel ya. Oba subscribe the ama no like no share we so abeje wa adventure e comment section or also the account. Ebusuan for some lady e ba na ma no sem dia me say say mo dija okwa NPP afan say ensem wo ho okwa NDC afan ensem wo ho movement for change ensem wo ho and as also na freedom so a party so ensem wo ho ebusuan for some le mo yan kama ho na mo yan ko hwe video bi say agent ha trendy ye pa o social media so emra ye ba ye de munchire mu nyina ebe
Eduji Tamaklo, who's joined us right now via the telephone lines. Council, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon. Yesterday, when the court passed its judgment, you gave us word that a notice of appeal was to be filed. Did you file this? Was it served on the Electoral Commission? I ask this because the Commission appears to have proceeded and is going ahead with collation and declaration for these 4 contested seats.
So, good afternoon. I need to first indicate that we completely reject the exercises going on in the EC offices.
You completely reject what is transpiring at the EC's offices, but the big question which many are asking is...
And the basis of our rejection is that yesterday, immediately after those rulings, we filed notices of appeal, and not only notices of appeal, we mounted application to stay the execution of those orders. The bailiff went to the Electoral Commission office, even though the office was open with security people. They claimed that there were no officers to receive. We proceeded to the law firm of the lawyers representing the Electoral Commission, and the clerk of that law firm was duly served with the notice of appeal and the application to stay the execution of those orders. It is our belief that whatever the Electoral Commission wanted to do, based on the service of the process on their council, they were going to, as it were, advise them not to proceed. But it appears this morning the Electoral Commission has decided to defy all the processes that we have filed and to go ahead. We want to put it on record. This is just the beginning of a long, long battle. It is in the interest of the Commission to have respected the processes of the courts rather than collude with those NPP candidates to do what appears to be purported redeclarations.
Where does this leave you? Because as at now, the Electoral Commission has proceeded, as you say, much against the court processes, declared 3 out of the 4 in the process of declaring...
Have you forgotten that we were here before? The Electoral Commission is not learning. Unfortunately, the intransigence, the stubbornness of the commissioners is amazing. The last time, you hardly proceeded to do this declaration on the basis of a court order. Subsequently, that order was set aside and everything that you have done. So sometimes you want to believe that sobriety will be the lot of these commissioners. But they are so much in haste. They are so much in haste just to please the NPP, against just allowing due process to take its course. I can assure you, and like I pointed out, we are going to fight this matter to its logical conclusion.
At this rate, these 3, because we know 3 have been declared and they've been declared for the NPP, are expected to be sworn in come the night of January 7. That means the NPP will have their members in Parliament while you continue to to fight this in court. Are you seeking to file further processes to stop the possible swearing of these individuals?
Tomorrow ends. As somebody will say, tomorrow is pregnant. Let's see how tomorrow ends. Like I told you, we are going to fight this matter. We promise to protect the votes of our people, and we use every available legal means like this.
We see that for the three other declarations, or the earlier declarations as made, your agents were not present. Is this to suggest that based on the processes you filed at the court, you advised the party not to be present at this collation phase?
The candidates respectfully were or are the applicants for the state. Now you apply to stay the execution of an order and participate in the same process. Would you advise that?
I ask this because for Blakuma North right now, there's an NDC agent there who's been raising concerns with respect to the pink sheets being used for collation as well.
Unfortunately, I'm not there, so I am unable to say exactly what's happening there.
So, Council, my last question to you is, will we see these NPP MPs sworn in the 9th tomorrow?
I do not intend to discuss my strategy. I'm holding that to my chest, but let's see how tomorrow ends.
Right then, we'll leave it here. I'm sure we'll come back to you again because, as you said, the strategy is on and you're going to fight this to the very end. That's Eduji Tamaklo. He's the Director of Legal Affairs for the NDC. He's been championing cause with respect to these outstanding constituencies at the court. And I mentioned to you that there's fresh details as well coming in from the quarters of the Tema Central NDC candidate, Abby Bright. And we get the indication that they yesterday, after the court's ruling, were invited by officials of the Electoral Commission to be present at 4 p.m. for the collation to be done. They made their way there, and there was no EC official to oversee the collation process, only for them to get wind of the fact that collation has happened today, and there's been a subsequent declaration with respect to that. I want to take you through latest post by counsel for Eddie Bright, that's the Honourable Roxy Nelson Dafiamekpo, who's been asking quite a number of questions with respect to this particular declaration, as has been done by the Electoral Commission. And he writes that, so the NPP goes to court to say that in Tema Central, the collation was not completed, 2 pink sheets were outstanding. Also, that the accredited EC returning officer was not the one who did the declarations. Now, the court therefore ordered that the accredited returning officer, in pursuance of regulations 2 and 3 of CI 127/2020, to go collate those 2 pink sheets and declare the election results. Now, he goes on to say that this morning, the EC purports to have collated the 2 pink sheets without the accredited returning officer. The collation and then the purported recollation was done this morning by a different person, yet Dr. Srebo, who is supervising this process, also refused to invite the NDC candidate for Tema Central to attend today's collation in pursuance to the court order. They go on to make the argument that what is intriguing is that his client, that is Abby Bright, was invited to attend the collation yesterday at 4 p.m. They went there, but the EC did not do the collation. So how can an EC properly set up under the Constitution decide to do what it desires to satisfy the NPP always, is a question that he's asking. And he provides evidence of one Ofosuhene asking that they be present at the old head office of the EC at Rich for collation to be done Saturday, 4th of January at 4 p.m. And then they make the argument that that has not happened. Thankfully, Roxy Nelson Dafiamekpo has joined us via the phone lines as well. Counsel, you make the argument that the declaration, as has been done this morning, was not done by the returning officer as appointed by the Electoral Commission for Tema Central?
Correct, indeed. When your reporter covered the declaration in question, you had the person who announced the declaration and held the hand of transporting as the winner as being the assistant returning officer. Meanwhile, the prayer of the NPP before the court yesterday was that the accredited returning officer for Tema Central is called Mr. Akwesi Broby, and that he was not the person who declared the Honorable Ebibright on the 9th of December. And therefore, this was in breach of Regulation 2 and Regulation 3 of CI 127.
Right.
And ipso facto, the court should declare that declaration as unlawful and direct that the proper thing be done. What did the court do? The court therefore directed that the accredited returning officer for Tema Central, Mr. Akwesi Broby, now go to collate the two disputed things and declare the results, the outcome of the election. We were about to report when the DC sent information that we should report for collation at 5 p.m. The information, I've sent you the evidence. The information came via a text message, a WhatsApp message. I think the time is 4:13 there about 4:03 p.m. So we had less than 1 hour to prepare to go. And yet we went. When we went, nothing happened. They were nowhere to be found. Only for them to wake up this morning to go and do the third collation without invite. Even if there was a change in the date and time and venue, they ought to have informed that. They did not. Now, the same Metro Director of Usuhini of Tema Central, who deposed to affidavit and said that the accredited EC officer was not the one who did the declaration. Today went there with a different EC officer to go and do the declaration. So what we have discovered in this country is that the EC is in tacit connivance with the NPP to do their bidding. Otherwise, how else will the EC and with Dr. Sribo supervising this not ensure that the returning officer on record for Tema Central be the one who should supervise the committee? And two, why not ensure that the candidate for the NDC for Tema Central, the Honorable Ebibright, be invited and present at the collation? You see, like Edwin said, they have been here before. 2 weeks ago, they sat in the same places and did collation. So they don't realize that you cannot engage in illegality and walk away. So to NPP, when they engage in illegality, it should become legal.
Honorable,
the court was very specific, and I'm shocked that the Ghana Police Service is also offering support and protection for such an illegality to proceed. The police ought to have ensured that any accredited person who is sitting there is the person who is supposed to be there in pursuance of the court order. You heard that in respect of Wärň Police Central or the other one, it was also another assistant returning officer.
So the challenge is that the deputies are the ones declaring the results. The argument can simply be made that the Electoral Commission appointed a returning officer and then the deputy. And so if the returning officer is not available, the deputy is expected to be able to carry out the functions of the returning officer. What's the challenge with that?
Where is the evidence that the returning officer for Tema Central is not available? Where is the evidence? He is the returning officer who supervised the election. The court didn't make the order. You see, what is happening today is in response, is in pursuance of a court order. So everything ought to be done in pursuance of that order and nothing else. The court didn't say that if the returning officer for Tema Central is not available, then the EC can appoint another officer to perform that function. The court didn't do that. In fact, Oposuhini in deposit to his affidavit before the court didn't say that the returning officer for Tema Central, as at the time he deposited affidavit and was being considered by a court, was not available. So that matter did not engage the court. So they are completely engaged in an illegality. What they have done is not in accord with the order of the court. That is why the NDC is rejecting this into two.
You're rejecting this. It's an argument that you're making. This is an illegality. You're not going to accept it. But the question still remains, or the fact still remains, that based on what has happened today, in Tema Central, for instance, when on the 9th of tomorrow, when the newly elected MPs are being sworn in, Charles Fawcett will be expected to be sworn in as the MP-elect for Tema Central.
Okay, one, you are aware that we have filed other court processes.
That we are very much aware of.
Good. And those processes have also been served on the clerks to Parliament. So the clerk to Parliament is aware of the legal tangle in issue in respect of all these constituencies. So Parliament, as an organ of state, may not be invited to engage in an illegality. So I am sure that Parliament, in its wisdom, will know what to do.
Where they'll know what to do is that they will not swear in these members of Parliament. Is that the expectation on your part as a party, having served Parliament with these court processes?
No, but if we have competing rights and the rights have not been settled, how would anybody be prepared to affirm the right of one party over the other, unless the matter is eventually determined by the court to its finality? That is why the EC ought not to have done what it is doing, especially when they have been served with the fresh court processes by us. Why would the EC ignore processes that we have filed from the court?
Honourable, there's a question that's lingering on the minds of people watching at home. Two outstanding pink sheets. The argument's being, or the question being asked is, if these two pink sheets are included, does Ebi Bright emerge victorious in Tema Central? No, because there were pink sheets that we have discovered. In fact, I discovered them to have been fabricated. And I've made a point, and let me make it again, that I discovered that these pink sheets were completed in the office of the EC after polls closed on the 9th of the 7th of December. We invited the presiding officers and interrogated them the circumstances under which they completed this pink sheet. And they said that when they closed the polls on the 9th of the 7th, Saturday, they were tired. They were exhausted. So they took the pink sheet to the office to go and they were instructed by Mr. Oposuli to complete it in the office, in the absence of our agent. That is why the content of the original of the pink sheets that they have brought and they are insisting that it should be admitted are at variance with the duplicates that was given to our agent. I will not be a good lawyer if I allow such fabricated evidence, corrupt evidence to be admitted to the detriment of my client. This has been our position from the word go. It is the same principle that governs rejection of ballots. That is why when somebody goes to thumbprint a ballot, the EC has the power to say that this thumbprint it's not proper, it's not lawful because it does not fall within the rectangular space provided against the candidate, and therefore it should be rejected. So in the same way, a fabricated pink sheet clearly can be rejected by the EC. When they say do collating, it is not about collating fabricated pink sheets as well as appropriate pink sheets. You can only collate pink sheets that are pristine, that are pure, that are undiluted, that are not fouled by anybody's attempt to fabricate the figure. So the pink sheets, the originals, they have the signature of the presiding officer, name of the presiding officer, the year of the election, and the time that the polls close at the polling station. On the duplicate, there's no name, there's no signature,
there's no time of no year of the election indicated and no time of close of polls. So, in any case, the presiding officers came to indicate that they were instructed by Okosuwili to provide information on these things in the office. That is why they fabricated the figures such that when these are admitted, a device will lose the election by 55 votes. This is a constituency that NPP has been winning with 14,000 votes. 14,000, 13,000. They have lost the elections completely, and they've done everything possible to just make it by 55 votes. It won't happen.
Right then, Honorable, we'll look forward to tomorrow, but these concerns still remain that you were invited yesterday to be a part of the coalition process. You went there, the coalition did not happen, and you didn't get wind of the fact that that exercise was going to happen today.
Exactly.
Right then, that's Roxy Nelson, the Tamaklo. His counsel.
First time I did channel, yeah. Over subscribe to the like, share, we so I be comment section or also the account.